Hey, Merry Christmas, friends. I'm Brady Cohn with Calibrate Ministries. I just want to take a moment and share with you how thankful I am for all that God has done with Calibrate this year. With myself and so many people behind the scenes like Caleb and Josh who do all of our editing and website work and graphic design, and Pat who does the bookkeeping. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes. I'm so thankful for every person who plays a part in this ministry. Many of you may have found Calibrate Conversations podcast and you don't realize all the other things that we do. I started Calibrate by speaking in churches about biblical sexuality because I saw that people desperately needed hope, and the church needs to be equipped to help people embrace God's standard for sexuality. I still do that. This year, I had 40 speaking engagements where I got to share a message of hope about sexuality, gender, marriage, and help give people a biblical framework for understanding it. And then there's one-on-one ministry. After those speaking engagements, people reach out who are desperate for help. And my goal is always to point them back to their local church. But what a joy it is to be able to have some one-on-one conversations, to share hope with them, to understand their stories, to shepherd their hearts, to provide some biblical soul care to them. And I see God changing their hearts and being able to live out hope that they'd never had before. You know, it's easy to focus on numbers, and the numbers this year, as I look at them, are great. We've had so many people listen to the podcast, so many speaking engagements, but Jesus said to leave the 99 to find the one lost sheep. And there's so many lost sheep who have now been found this year, and Calibrate Ministries has played a small role in their journey. And what a blessing to be a part of that. An email recently I received from some parents, James and Jesse, laid out how Calibrate had impacted their walk with God after they reached out to me when their son came out of the closet as gay. So I'd like to just read this email really quick. They said, when our son came out as gay last year, we were devastated and so confused. Our pastor encouraged us to reach out to Brady. Through several Zoom calls and his podcast, we've gained understanding and hope. We better understand our son and how to talk to him. We have a better understanding of the gospel and the need for it in our son's life. But we have also seen a greater need for the gospel in our own lives. When we reached out to Brady, we wanted to talk about our son, but it turns out that God wanted to grow us and stretch us too. While our son is still struggling, we now have the biblical truth to hold tight to our beliefs and convictions and the tools to have a larger influence on our son. I love emails like that because that's why we're here, to give hope and help people embrace God's standard for sexuality. And now this couple is better equipped to hold fast to biblical convictions as the world is trying to sway them, and they're better equipped to apply the gospel to their own lives and to their sons' lives. And so we rejoice in every one of those lost sheep who has now been found, whether it's individuals or parents or people who are sitting in churches who heard a biblical message on sexuality that they needed to apply to their lives because they needed the conviction, or they needed to understand how to love their neighbor or their family members. We celebrate every one of those stories. This next year, I'm really excited about what God is doing. This year, it seemed like our theme was hope. Everyone needs hope. We live in a world full of outrage, and what the world needs is a massive amount of hope, and we've provided that hope. A word that's come to my mind over and over again the last few weeks and months is wisdom. The world needs wisdom, and Christians need wisdom, and how to navigate these complicated situations, how to navigate situations in our churches and in shepherding our people, which is why I love equipping pastors, and navigating our families, and navigating just the world around us as we engage with sinners and ideology that doesn't line up with biblical truth. So I'm excited to create resources that help us gain a wisdom of biblical truth and a wisdom of people and a wisdom of just discipleship to apply the gospel to all these areas of our lives. There's so many people that I could thank for being a part of this ministry this year. Josh and Caleb work behind the scenes doing all of our graphic design work and website work and podcast and video editing, and they do a great job. Pat does all of our bookkeeping. There's my wife, Mary, who is my number one fan and supporter and does so much for me. There's so many people to thank, but also all of our ministry donors. We had 150 people give to Calibrate Ministries this year to allow us to do what we do. I raise all the funding for all of our payroll, ministry expenses, travel expenses, administration, podcast production, and it all comes from donors. And so this year, I would love for you to consider making an end of the year donation if you have that in your budget. I know that there's so many places that people can give to, and that's why it's such a humbling experience when they choose to give to Calibrate. And so if you can do that this year, we appreciate your support so that we can go into 2025 being fully funded and not having funding as a distraction from what God has called us to do. So if you'd like to make a donation, go to calibrateministries.com and you can click on the donation link there. We also love prayer. It is a spiritual war zone out there. And so if you're not on our email list where I share prayer requests and resources regularly, sign up for that at our website too. Just click on the little subscribe button and you can fill that out. We appreciate so many people who make this ministry happen. And we're encouraged by what God is doing and excited for you all to be a part of it in the next year. Thank you.